Yo, testing 1, 2, 3.
Yep, sounding good.
Hey.
I didn't do a big server-wide ping for this one. I think it still pings people who RSVP'd yes, though. Did people who RSVP'd get a notification that it was starting? Okay. I think this will be Nick's first AMA, right? Gribbly, did Nick ever join the in-game ones?
Yeah.
Very rarely has anybody asked a question that I felt like I was the best one to answer. I think for the in-game ones, I did a couple with Gribbly early on.
You've definitely done AMAs before. You might be in single digits though. That's possible.
Yeah, I guess in the early days we had him in game before we had the broadcast system, so it would have just been like a maximum of like 30 people plus the devs.
Yeah,
That's
that's
on
right.
that stage. Yeah,
That's right.
between two ferns.
Yeah, that's right. Wait, was that actually the room name?
Yes.
Oh dang!
If you look on my Gribbly account in game, that's still in my room list.
You made the room?
It's the real Nick. If people are curious, yeah.
That could
straight
be
from the Rec Room
video.
office. Actually, it could now. That VO stuff is getting pretty good.
Given office preview footage too, people get hyped whenever we show the office.
Oh yeah, the Dracula one, construction dude.
You got fun office knickknacks next to you, Nick. Show a knickknack to the camera. You must have something fun.
Let's see. What do we got? I have a lot of letters that people have sent, but this one is pretty good. Somebody sent this in.
Yes.
Let's see what else.
I feel like that must have been expensive to mail.
There's a KO Cola here that somebody made. Little Forbidden one, like 3D printed bucket as well. Collection here of stuff. I've got a lot of mail too. Like a lot of people sent me mail with little drawings and stuff.
Did the bucket really come like in a package? Like somebody boxed it up?
It did. I think it was like a giant box.
That's impressive.
It is.
Okay, we're at 5:01. People are still coming in. We can start to kick things off. I think everyone's mic is good. I'll do my little notice that we record these. So if you don't want to have yourself recorded, don't come up on stage later if we do that. If you don't want your voice recorded, don't come up, essentially. I don't have any other kind of like top of the show announcements. Does anyone up on stage want to give any sort of announcements before we get into the top questions? I don't think we had any, I think. Okay, cool. All right, so for anyone new to this, the format we do is we take the top ranked or upvoted questions out of the creator forums for this. We post that like a week ahead of time. So we're gonna go down those top 20 questions I think we had, based on roughly by upvotes. I think towards the end, I kind of pulled them in, but I think Max will be showing up later too to do some of the avatar specific ones. But the first one we have is from Pan Knight, because I can't pronounce its actual username. And this one is in the blog post where we focus on enabling creation for everyone. It talks about how the previous attempts at monetization and RROs have failed, and there's no proven strategy to monetize here. And then he kind of goes into 3 specific questions about like previous RROs and the monetization techniques we had in them. And I know Nick was going to speak to this one, so I'll let
I can just kind of take those one by one. So if you did miss it, I wrote up a blog post that outlined what we had seen with RROs over the years. There's a lot of details in there, but I think there's 2 points worth reiterating here. The first is that Rec Room Originals over the years, they were just getting less and less engagement almost from the beginning. Even though we were spending more and more money on them, you can see it pretty clearly in the quests. If you look at Golden Trophy to Jumbotron and on, like those quests were getting more and more expensive for us to make, but the visit counts are clearly not showing that. And then we saw that past the quest era. So when you look at Make It to Midnight, My Little Monsters, Run the Block, all those, kind of saw that same trend. And then the second point is we hadn't found any path to make these profitably, despite a lot of different game types and monetization strategies. So I think the first question in there was like, was profitability even a goal for the RROs mentioned, like Showdown, Rec Royale, Run the Block? And like Rec Room is a business, so everything we do, we do want to have some plausible return on investment for doing it. That doesn't mean that everything we do needs to be directly profitable, but we certainly try and measure the impact of what we're doing relative to the dollars it takes to do those things. And we want to make sure that we're making steps towards improving the business. So with the Rec Room Originals, most of the time we looked at, could this thing be profitable rather than is it profitable? Could it be profitable rather than is it profitable? And I can give a specific example with Make It to Midnight with actual numbers so that people can kind of get a sense of what this looked like. So Make It to Midnight cost us about $3 million to make. That doesn't include marketing spend or server costs or any of that kind of stuff. Just that's what it costs to go from concept to publish room for that one. In the 2 years that it's been live, it has generated about 4 million hours of gameplay. And then Rec Room, just in general, on average, it makes about 10 cents per hour of gameplay. That includes everything. That's like UGC, avatar items, consumables. But if you just look at like how much money does it make, hours of gameplay, that's about what it makes, 10 cents per hour of gameplay. And then the platforms take about 30% of that revenue. So really, what do we get? We get 7 cents per hour of gameplay. And so like, look, you guys can just do that math. Like 7 cents times 4 million hours, we're at $280,000. That's not what it made, but like I think that gives you a back of the napkin math on like what kind of numbers we're looking at. So we have this game that costs $3 million to make, and it's like we do this back of the napkin math, and we're making like less than 10% of that. So we're just off by this factor of 10. And so what that tells us is Make It to Midnight either needs to generate 10x the number of hours that it generates currently, or it needs to generate 10 times the amount of monetization that the average Rec Room hour is generating. And we really don't see rooms doing that. So, and again, that's just a break even. Like if we wanted this to be reasonably profitable, I think you're talking about like 12 to 15x. So, with Run the Block, we actually tried to figure out like, hey, could we make that engagement number? Could we make those hours go up a lot? So we took a different approach. We said, we're going to make it clonable, and we will look at every hour that Run the Block generates, every hour that every room that's cloned from Run the Block makes, every hour from every room that had a object or a circuit that could trace its lineage back to Run the Block. And like, if we add all those hours together, do we get closer to that like 10x hour number? And the answer is no, we couldn't. And then on the monetization side, I think the second bullet point in the question was like, hey, for Make It to Midnight, why don't you try this? Why don't you try that? Why don't you try this? Why don't you try that? Those are a lot of those are very good ideas. And I think we could have made more money had we done those. A lot of the tests that we were running was actually to see what we could do on that spend per hour number. So when we were doing something like a Rec Room Plus weekend, we were like, hey, for this day, could we jack up spend per hour? Like, does this cause people to change their behaviors? With something like the prismatic essences in MLM, what we were looking for was like, if you are a hardcore MLM user, if you're somebody that has spent a lot of time in there, do we see your spend per hour go up in the room? And the answer is like, yeah, we can kind of tweak those a bit, but we're talking like, 10%, 20%. When really what we need is like this 10x. So when I'm saying like, hey, I don't see a path to profitability, that's generally what I'm talking about. It's not that these things like literally didn't make money. It's like, hey, when we're trying to figure out like, hey, if it's getting this much engagement, we layer all these features in, like, what do we think is reasonable? And that's just been a very difficult equation to make work. Meanwhile, when we look at UGC features, we tend to see a very different story. The investments there tend to be smaller in atomics. So, look, each UGC feature is going to have like a wildly different cost. But if you were to look at the bullet points and like the ship notes, we're talking maybe like $40,000-$50,000 to produce like, a UGC bulleted new feature. And in order to make that kind of money back, we're like, hey, we need maybe 100 rooms to adopt this feature. We need those rooms to be good, which is like they're going to generate 50,000 hours a year. And we need this bullet to make them, 5 to 7% better. And so you're like, okay, well, that's a lot more plausible. You're like, okay, 100 people adopt this. It makes their room 5% better. Those rooms generate, 4,000 or 5,000 hours per month. Like you can kind of make that work. And so that's generally the equation that we're looking at there. It's not to say that like literally we have tried every monetization method that has ever existed. I think we could definitely be monetizing those Rec Room originals a lot harder. We just don't see a path towards like 10xing the amount of revenue that we're generating per hour in those. We just don't see it in any of the UGC games. And we just don't see much elasticity in that number. I think the third bullet point on there was like, hey, rooms like Make It to Midnight exist in a rooms framework. Has there been any exploration of the team to allow the community to help submit updates to these games? Look, with the latest Rec Room originals being built entirely with UGC tools, this is something we could actually do. And I haven't chatted with Gribbly about it, but I would love to do it. With the older Rec Room originals, they were built in Unity, so there wasn't really an option for letting people update it without like checking into our code base and building an entirely new app client. Both, Run the Block, that's 100% UGC. So I'd love to do this. I think the main issue we'd run into is like, who do you give it to? And are we accused of playing favorites there? Because I think, if we give that to somebody, I think they're going to do pretty well in generating some tokens. But if I could give it to somebody today for free without getting yelled at by the community, I would probably look to do that. I kind of lost track of the chat. Were there questions that flew by that?
There might have been some. Typically what we do is we ask if the person who asked the question is here. So is Pan Knight here? I don't think I saw their hand go up, but if Pan Knight is here and they want to do a quick follow-up question on that, they're welcome to, but I don't think I saw them in the crowd.
I think the main thing I've seen in the chat is people struggling to understand that it costs $3 million to make It to Midnight.
Wish it did not.
Yeah, we pay salaries. There was also, some cost in building some of the underlying UGC tools in that as well, probably. But I think it's a pretty good approximation of what it costs.
Yep. Yeah, I saw that too. Okay, well, if Pan Knight shows up, we can pull him up on stage. But for now, I think we'll just keep moving down, and we can do follow-up questions like at the end. All right, so the next one we had is from Hades RR. What is the status of the contests with the bugs that people were running into? Is it viable to proceed, or will dates change, et cetera, et cetera? So I know Eden was gonna speak to this.
Yeah, hi everybody. Wanted to say first of all, thank you guys for participating in this contest. I love seeing your guys' little spoilers of your rooms in the chats. Super excited to see what comes out of it. That being said, I do want to say we are seeing your guys' feedback and the bugs you guys are submitting. There is work going in on the back end on that, but in order to kind of help you guys out, because I know a lot of these bugs kind of cause issues for building, we will be extending the build phase. This will be probably announced Monday or Tuesday with an official announcement. So I'm not going to say quite how long yet, but I want to let you guys know that there will be an extension. And then I'll let you guys know the dates on Tuesday, exactly what's moving around where. But just keep putting in those bug reports, keep putting in the feedback. We are looking at it. We are seeing it. I am reading Discord, so I see what you guys are saying, and appreciate you guys working on this. Again, excited to see what's going to come out of it.
Yeah, the bug reports that we got in the creator forums and in Discord, especially the ones that had like log files or the videos people submitted, were very helpful. We passed all those off to the team, and it really helped them kind of identify where some of these issues were coming from. So big thanks to everyone who submitted all of those reports. Let's see. Next question we had is from Sab6D. Since on the new bean and FBA, we can see our hands while grabbing the objects, will there be a way in the future to adjust how we can grab that creators can make, especially for non-Rec Room Studio users? For example, a sword we can make from scratch. I think this was for Max.
Yeah, this is actually something we already have. We've worked on it. It was something that we can revisit, especially if this is coming up for you guys that you need this again. So yeah, we already have a change where you can decide for something you can grab. You can configure it to say, you know, I would like to show the hand, or not show the hand when this is picked up, or I'd actually like to rotate and reposition where the hand is sitting so it feels like it's more grabbing. So that we've done both of those things. It got stalled for other important work at the end of last year, and hearing you guys asking for this means we should revisit this, especially now that we have been doing this work to retire the classic bean. It's much easier for us to maintain this one modern system. It's very hard for us to do all of this work to help avatar systems and keep the classic bean maintained. So this is going to make this kind of work a lot easier to revisit. So yes, and I'm going to revisit seeing why we left this and bring it to the top of our roadmap.
Sweet. All right, next one we had is from Jeremy in VR. This one was about the ability to add a status to player profiles or like the friends list, and the request around this was mostly for, you know, hey, I'm in paintball or I'm filming a video, need actors. If Jeremy is here, I wanted to ask the question, like, is this something that creators have like a creator use case for? Like, do people want to see kind of like player statuses for what they're building, or if they want help building? It wasn't directly in the question, but I figured it's worth asking, just like the chat, you know, is there a creator focused kind of like use case for this sort of thing? If anybody has opinions on that, drop it in the chat. Or I don't think I saw Jeremy in VR here, but if he's here and wants to speak to this, go ahead and raise your hand, Jeremy, and I'll pull you up on stage. Okay, someone's saying they might like to use it instead of announcements. Oh, it's little hints and promotions for the rooms. Interesting. Oh, Werewolf saying for video partners it would be amazing. What would you use it for, Werewolf? What's like a use case? Okay. Cool. All right. Well, I don't think Jeremy raised their hand, so we can move on, but it is interesting to see. Oh, status examples, circuiteer, builder, etc. Oh, so people want to use it to kind of indicate what skills you've got. Isn't that just the bio? I assume people would put like circuiteer, builder, that sort of stuff in the bio, but it sounds like people are interested in surfacing it in more of like a status way that's a little quicker to find, maybe. Looking for actors, something would be useful. Yeah, that was the example that Jeremy and VR gave in their post. Okay. Yeah, my advice for people that are interested in this sort of like player status thing in the profiles of the friend list, it would be to make a creator forums post on it and kind of list all these examples out for us. I think the more examples we have, especially the creator focused ones, would help us think about this a little more. Status like in VR chat. Okay, interesting. Okay, I'll move on to the next one, but if somebody wants to make a creator forums post for that and put it in the chat, you guys can start to collect all of these examples in there. It'd be nice. All right, next one is also from Jeremy in VR, and this is about adding a scale option to the animation chip. I think that was basically the whole request.
Yeah, I
Often-
can take this one.
Okay.
Yeah, you're basically asking like, hey, can we animate scale using the animation chip? This is definitely something we want to do. There's no kind of like technical blocker for this. There are some weirdnesses around some object types that don't support non-uniform scale, so there might be some details. But yeah, this one's just a scheduling thing. We really want to get to it, but we got a bunch of other stuff that we're working on. So we don't have an ETA on this, but yeah, we will add this at some point, and I totally agree that it would be a powerful feature.
Sweet. All right, next one was from Sakona, but it was kind of a question that didn't have a direct question. I asked them to follow up. I don't think they did. If Sakona is here, SECONA, they can raise their hand and we can bring them up and they can clarify the question, but I don't know if I saw them in the chat. So Sakona, if you're here, raise your hand, we'll pull you up. Otherwise, I'll move on to the next one. And
Remind me what that one was about. Was it just Rec Room Plus, like what's moving Rec Room Plus or something?
yeah, it was like, how can we increase Rec Room Plus usage or signups, I think, but
Yeah, I think there were some like, hey, why don't you do this to increase Rec Room Plus? I can go through like a couple of the things that we've seen work so far. So the we've been pushing more and more on Rec Room Plus. I think the weekend that we did the Maker AI in your dorm room, we saw it bump up a bunch, but it was kind of a point in time thing. And then we've been doing these promos lately where if you've never had Rec Room Plus and you go through and look at various different items, we kind of do an upsell where we're like, hey, you can get this pretty expensive item for free if you sign up for Rec Room Plus. That has been pretty successful. The change to make the tokens weekly didn't really do anything. And then I think we just added a path on the anime season for Rec Room Plus that we're going to try and see how that one works. But probably the one that we've seen move the numbers the most, like just in a tight time period, was the Maker AI stuff. What was interesting that we saw there was when we were looking at like the Maker AI queries that were coming in, like a huge percentage of them were just not asks to do any tool. It was like just chatting with Maker AI, and Maker AI is like purposely not very good at that. Like the way that we've kind of set that prompt up, it's really like not supposed to be chatty. We tell it not to respond to a lot of questions about things outside of Rec Room. So we're still trying to process that feedback. We're like, oh well, it does seem like there's a group out there that is willing to pay for Rec Room Plus and does want to interact with this thing. I don't think we've done the best job of building something that matches that need, but we're still trying to process what that could mean for us.
sweet. All right. Next one was from TK Cop. Are there plans to add a feature to Rooms 2 to hide players, like how we could make people invisible with roles in R1?
Yeah, so similar answer to the scaling on the animation chip. I think there's no fundamental reason we can't do it. It's just something we got to get to. Max, is there anything kind of from your perspective where we can't do that, or is this one
No.
priority and resource thing?
Very, very doable. It's just a matter of priorities.
Yeah.
We've heard ideas of people wanting to do like prop hunt type games with that, where you can completely hide your avatar and turn into something else. So that sounds super compelling. So no design reason we're not doing it. Just we need to decide if it's the most important thing.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, it always helps to give us signal on stuff like that by in the creator forums. I think we already have 1 or 2 posts for this. So if people feel strongly about being able to turn the avatar invisible, just go ahead and drop an upvote on that, or I think some of those threads are older too, so bumping new comments up into it will also surface it as well. All right. Next question is from Macaroni Love, and it is, when will Rec Room Studio Access be rolled out to the remaining 50% of creators? Was it 25%? Last we heard it was at 50%. What's kind of going on there? And I got a reply from the Rec Room Studio team on this, and it was essentially, it's still a goal. We'd love to roll it out to everyone, but there's currently like some headwinds and other priorities for this. So what we're going to do in the meantime is I worked with someone on that team to set up a forum post. So I'm going to put this in the chat right now. If you go to that post, you can apply manually for access. You can fill out the 3 things, and the Rec Room Studio team is going to try to find time to look through these and give people access who, will probably do some sort of quick moderation check, quick kind of like creation history check, and look over the 3 bullet points that we want from people in there. And this way we've at least got some experimental way for players who have been waiting a long time to get access. It is an experiment though. If we get 5,000 requests for manual access, we probably won't have time to look through all of those. So if you're super excited to have Rec Room Studio access and you've been waiting a very long time, please go fill this out as soon as possible, and the Rec Room Studio team will take a look, and we'll see what the number of applications looks like. So that's the update on Rec Room Studio rollout. Next question is from Booyah600. Can we get an update on when costume dummies will be released for R2? Couple of games in the vault that I want to add for costume dummies. Gribbly, you want to talk on this one?
Yeah, I can. So I thought Max might have some context on this too, but basically I'm really bad at getting the exact dates right, but Costume Dummies is about to ship for R2. So there is support for attaching not just shapes, but arbitrary objects to the avatar, which is really, really cool. So yeah, that should be coming out like, man, I think it's like in the next ship. I wish someone who was smarter than me was here to confirm that, but it's like imminent.
Yeah, I'm Gribbly, I should know this, but I think it is 6/9 ship.
Is that right? That sounds about right. Yeah, so it's close. It's like low single digit weeks if it's not out in the next one.
I will verify that.
Yeah, actually, yeah, Max, if you could maybe verify and post in the chat, that would be good.
I know we have a blog post I'm helping write up about vehicles and
yeah, and I think the vehicles will come in the same ship, I believe. And one thing, so the creation side of the dummy won't be there in the first ship. It's mainly a set of chips to add things that work really well and are very flexible. But it's not quite as simple as the R1 dummy.
Yeah, that's what we detail in the blog post. Is here are these chips that allow you to equip any arbitrary R2 item to the avatar, and the dummy is potentially coming later.
Yep.
Cool. So that's the update on R2 costumes and vehicles. Both are coming, I believe, either next week or the week after that. So very soon. I'm already writing up like the blog post for this, so that's a good indication it's imminent. Let's see. The next one is from Chomper5554. Will custom projectiles come to rooms V1? I'd like to add them to Station X. It's one of their rooms. I got a reply from the circuits team on this, and the answer was there's no plans to port custom projectiles to R1 right now. I think for a lot of these R2 systems, there's basically like very difficult or no way to do backwards compatibility.
Yeah, there's basically no plan. Like these new features that we're creating for R2, there is no plan to add them to R1.
Yep. All right, easy answer there. Epic Gamer 122. Will we have the option to hide maker pin objects or objects inside of containers?
So yes, this one is definitely part of the design spec for R2 objects. and we're actually working on a scenario which needs this right now. So I don't want to promise that we're going to do it anytime soon, but it is a good possibility. It'll definitely come eventually. We might do it as this part of the scenario we're working on right now. But yeah, we definitely want this. This is an important one. Like right now, we're kind of making this kind of experimental wave shooter, which has a giant crystal in the middle of the room, and we want to hide it when it explodes. And so we kind of animate it below the surface of the terrain, and we're like, man, we really should make this so you can just hide it.
That's cool. I'm curious if Epic Gamer is here. I'm kind of curious to know their use case, or if people want to call out use cases in the chat for why you'd want to hide make or pin objects. I'd just be curious to see like what people want to use that for.
Use cases are always very useful.
Okay, we can move on to the next one. This one's from 03113. Any plans for expanding pop-up games to UGC? It's a great way to make friends or enemies, so why not expand the system to hand-selected developers?
UGC enemy creation tools. Yeah, this is a really, really fun idea. I think this one is a no for whoever's doing the Gribbly yes and no list. I think this one is a no. Follow on. I think you're doing it. So I think this one has to be a no. I have a soft spot for pop-up games, and they were definitely an experiment, so we only did the one. Maybe one day we'll come back to it, and I would love to kind of add it to the UGC roster. But yeah, this is one of those ones where we've just got so many other higher priority things in the queue that I think this one's going to round to a no.
Okay. Next one we had was a circuits question from ZeeBB, ZEIIBB. Is it possible to have an interaction volumes hold time synced to players? And then they go into detail about it. I got a answer from someone on the circuits team about this, and it's basically there's no good answer for this right now. I think we have someone who might have context on this, but they were out of the office at the moment. So for Zeeb, I'm going to have to get back to you on this one. That's all the context I have, unless Gribbly, you had anything on this.
On this one, if Ordzilla didn't know the answer, then I don't know the answer.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'll get in touch with the creator who asked that one and try to get him something once that person is back. All right, next one is from NK2. When will the Rooms V1 game chip and scoreboard be added to R2? And I can read out some answers I got on this, or Gribbly, did you want to speak to it?
Yeah, I can speak to it. So the game chip, there's no plan to port that to R2. That's a CV1 chip, so that's the old legacy circuit system. So that one won't be coming, but you should be able to create all of the functionality and more in CV2. Like there's nothing that the game rules chip can do that CV2 can't. And then the scoreboard, I believe it's already there. Unless we're thinking about different things. Ordzilla says scoreboard is there. So if NK2 is here and can clarify, maybe we can get more detail there. But I think the answer to when will the scoreboard be added to R2 is it has been.
Okay. Yeah, if anyone in the chat knows potentially what NK2 is referring to when they said the scoreboard for R2, let us know.
Oh, I see in the chat saying, no, it isn't. We have the leaderboard in Rooms 2, but not the scoreboard. I see. Sorry, my bad. I kind of misinterpreted that. So yeah, in that case, I convert my answer to I don't know. I think, right, it's tied to the game rules chip. So yeah, same answer. So we won't be porting that, but you should be able to recreate all of that functionality with bespoke CV2.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll throw Ordzilla under the bus there.
I know we've had a lot of people ask about the game rules chip and scoreboard. It might be helpful at some point if we could do a blog post saying like...
Yes, we probably should. And there might be something I'm missing. My theory of the case is you can recreate everything that the old game chip used to do with CV2, and it should be replaceable just with an invention. If someone makes a CV2 invention for it, it should be able to replace the ease of use. But maybe there's some specific use case that I'm missing and don't know about.
I think, if I may interject, the ability to spawn
Yeah.
in weapons that aren't already spawned in the room, but the replicator in R2 kind
The
of takes care of
replicator.
that.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah. So yeah, it's definitely more setup and more work, but this might be something that some of our internal kind of creation teams can do and ship as inventions. We sometimes do stuff like that. This might be one to prioritize, just so people have that.
Yeah, we do see
Harrison,
it
you
come
said
up a lot.
not everything. Harrison, what's missing? Oh, the pinafores, like the vests. Well, with the new costume chips coming to CV2, you'll be able to do that as well.
Alrighty. Next one is from Sab6D. What is the future of creation on mobile? We know one of them is the updated interface of the mobile maker pen, but is there more you can share with us?
Yeah, so there are more improvements coming to the Maker Pen on all platforms. So they've got the new UI paradigm that will be getting iterated on. We're currently focused on getting that up and running on controller platforms because using the Maker Pen on controllers has been pretty clunky for a long time. So we're making that a lot better. So that's actually coming pretty soon. Then there is a bunch of stuff that is platform agnostic that we want to make better about creating on mobile and on consoles, which is basically upgrading a bunch of the snapping mechanics and a lot of the kind of spatial feedback that you get and doing a polish pass on all of that kind of stuff. So all of that will show up on mobile, rolling out over the next few weeks, month or two. So yeah, a lot of improvements coming to the Maker Pen experience on all platforms, including mobile. And then mobile gets all of the Maker AI improvements. So if you're someone who's using Maker AI as part of your creation flow, all of those features are coming to mobile. So you get the wallpaper generation and texture generation and stuff like that.
Cool. Alrighty, let's see. Next one, also from Sab6D. What future templates are being made for people that don't know how to use CV2? I'd love to see a capture the flag template or a team battle one, maybe team deathmatch.
Yeah. We are definitely aware of our relative lack of good templates. We are working on one right now. I don't know how much I'm allowed to say, so I won't get too specific about it, but we have got a template coming out soon, TM, like literally soon. Next few weeks soon, there'll be a new template for everyone to play with that I think is one of the best ones we've made that is, makes Rooms 2 much easier to use. Beyond that, yeah, so I think, we're wanting to think about templates beyond that. I think we've got some game genres we want to explore that, maybe aren't capture the flag and stuff like that. But yeah, definitely more templates. This is also one of our use cases that we're looking at pretty heavily for Maker AI is one of the things that the AI and generative tools can be very good at is sort of a self-serve template thing where you can kind of create the environment that you want. You can create have Circuits Gen help you create the rules that you want and get you up and running. So that'll be part of the strategy as well. So more and better templates and the ability to use Maker AI to help with it.
Cool. Next one is from Lux YYE. Are you going to make inverted normals an official thing? People are constantly using old inventions for those to make stuff like black holes. Yes, it's just spheres or cubes most of the time. Adding invert normal tool would make it possible to make a lot more.
Yes. So yeah, I read this one this morning and I haven't had time to talk to any of the art team about this. In the past, we've been reluctant to do this. I think our philosophy might have changed a bit and this might convert what would have been a no into a yes. I got to go talk to the team and see how easy it is to support. But I do see the creative potential of this. We've always been reluctant to do it because we don't want, generally speaking, we don't want people relying on bugs that we might fix in the future. So we're always kind of trying to discourage, things like inverted normals that are, technically weren't meant to be supported. But this one, it is such a powerful and often requested thing, and probably a pretty simple thing for us to support. That then yes, we might do it.
Cool. Yeah, I think this originated with like inverted normals on tubes, and people started using that a lot. Yeah, I've seen some pretty cool stuff. I'm just curious in the chat, can people post like how they're using inverted normals? I'll be curious to just read through those as we keep going. But if you use
Black holes, baby.
Is that can't be the major use case?
You know,
Glass?
you're right, you're
Oh,
right.
cell shading. Interesting.
I think there's like, gems and interesting shiny textures and blah. Yeah, sushi stand, water outlines, blah.
Okay, that's cool. All right, next one is from Plush Trap WR. Is it known why desktop screen sharing features are broken? Is it in the process of porting to R2, or is it long-awaited update, et cetera, et cetera? I think this one's basically asking what's the state of desktop screen sharing. I checked in with somebody on the team who said that we have a fix for the desktop screen share going out that will land in the next 2 weeks. So that will fix the desktop screen sharing feature for all the people that were using it in the R1 rooms. This is just a fix for like the existing thing. And then we haven't done the work to move desktop screen sharing into R2 yet. And I don't know if there's any ATA on when that would be done. I do know that some of like the R2 teachers have been requesting that for the purposes of like classrooms and sharing videos into the classroom. So I know it is requested, heavily requested by teachers, but I don't think I've seen any kind of ETA on that being converted to R2 yet. Maybe Gribbly might know more.
I don't know more. All I know are there are some fixes coming.
Okay, cool. Let's see. All right, next one is from OK34D. When can we get the player's leaderboard value? It sounded like there was some confusion on our end on what OK34D was asking for here. So does anybody in the chat know what player's leaderboard value would be asking for? Or if OK34D is here, can they raise their hand and we'll pull them up on stage? So it seems like the question on our end was you can already get player leaderboard stats. But yeah, we were unsure what player leaderboard value meant. Oh,
I think
rank
someone
on
in the
leaderboard?
chat saying the ability to fetch the position of on the leaderboard of a player.
Oh, interesting.
I don't know the state of this. It does say there is some kind of dumb limitation that we have where it's not simple to just have a leaderboard in a room. I've forgotten the exact reasons why, but we can go ask again.
I remember a little of this. Basically, we did some server optimization work a while back that prevents you from getting somebody's global standing unless they're, I believe, in the top 100. And we did this because storing all of that data was really, really expensive. Like this was a cost-saving measure we took to simplify anybody out of the top 100. So we kind of cannot determine somebody's standing unless they're near the top. No, sorry, I'm not on a radio. My computer just hates my audio.
Godzilla getting mic shamed in the chat.
I know, it's an ongoing problem.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. I guess if we had to store, the rank values for everyone in a room and it had hundreds of thousands of visits, that would be quite a lot of data to be storing across every room. But interesting request. I think if people, if people are very much interested in that feature, again, the recommendation is make a creator forums post for us and kind of post the use case you're looking for there. Like, why do you want to pull, the rank of, let's say tens of thousands of people that have been in the room? If it looks super compelling, like maybe we could revisit it. But yeah, I think what Oddzilla said makes sense for why we wouldn't want to be storing all of that if there wasn't a good use case there. All right, I think this is the last one that we had pulled as of a few days ago. From Sunflower Thomas, will there ever be a chip to perform HTTP requests? This could be used as a way to interact with APIs outside of Rec Room. I think this is basically, we see this on the creator forums every now and then, people asking about an API.
Yeah, we can talk about this one. Yeah, we've talked about this, and we have looked into it a fair bit. It's a really, really cool idea, but it comes with some. It just opens up it's a bunch more work than you think, and it opens up some security stuff, some data stuff, trust and safety stuff. platform partner stuff.
There's
Yeah,
there,
the other
some of the platform
yeah.
partners will not let you do this. I think if we were like a PC only app, then it's a little bit easier. But some of the platform partners, if you have to give them a list of like, hey, these are the only endpoints I'm ever going to hit from this client. And so we kind of just can't have arbitrary ones.
Yeah, it's a shame because it is really cool and it would open up really, really possibilities. So creatively, internally, we are big fans of this. But it's, if we want to keep publishing on all the platforms that we publish on, I don't think this is something we can do.
Yep. Makes sense. And then we had one come in last minute, I think yesterday, from Ghost of Brad. And this one is, can we get a toggle in the maker pen to control whether neon textures emit light and expand the neon color range with brighter options?
So it's a cool idea. I actually haven't checked with the rendering team on this, but I bet I know the answer off the top of my head, which is if we were just on PC and some of our more powerful platforms, I bet this would be super easy. But on some of our lower end platforms, getting those emissive textures to work is probably correct. I see. Is probably too much more performance than we can realistically support, and we always want to prioritize running on the maximum number of platforms we can, and we are willing to sacrifice some fidelity and features to do that. So this might be one of them. But that said, I can go talk to the rendering team. It would be a cool addition to the palette.
Cool.
But for Solomon, probably got to put that one as a no. I don't know if that takes me to 6-7 or.
All right. Well, we spent a little more of the time than normal getting through all of these. That's got about 20 minutes left to take questions out of the chat or just discuss whatever topics we want. If any of the devs up on stage have anything they want to put in front of the community, like, hey, we're kind of curious how people feel about this feature, or you want to get feedback, feel free to come.
I actually need to run. I was meant to run at 3:30, but I lost track of time and I'm still here. So I actually got to run. So I just want to say thank you to everybody. Fun AMA as usual. I got to run. Bye.
Cool. Thanks for coming in. All righty. So we can start taking questions out of the text chat from you guys. If you have follow-ups to any of the things we covered already, feel free to drop them in there. It also helps us if you leave emoji on like questions that you especially agree with or want the answer to. That'll kind of help us prioritize. Trunks, did you see any questions going by that we should address from like the last half hour?
Yeah, I've been trying to keep track of them. I think many of them were answered, later on. I think we covered scaling players or objects with circuits as a feature. But one thing that's kind of related to that, maybe I've got 2 avatar questions, so maybe Max can field these. One was a request for a height scale setting. Some players want to be like a goblin or something really tall, like a Slenderman. And the other one was, can we make avatar items stackable, specifically headwear items? They want to wear a hat and some headphones, or maybe a bow in their hair, or a bandana with a cowboy hat.
Yeah. So the height thing, we actually put together a prototype to change height. It messed with the classic bean and the modern system. It was really hard to get them to work together because they're just 2 very different systems. Now that we're retiring the classic bean, this is going to make that easier for us to do. No promises that is on our roadmap, but that is one of the things we considered having as an option for the modern system, and we punted on it because it was a mess to get it working for the classic bean. That is an example of like, this is why retiring the classic bean is just going to unlock a lot of potential work for us. So it's good to hear that that's something you guys want. It's something we played with and wanted as well. Not saying it's going to come, it's right around the corner, but this does put another chip on the scale for me to think about what's next for our avatar systems. The other one was stackable stuff. So yeah, we've been thinking about this, especially for the face, as we're looking at expanding the number of Avatar Studio creators. We want to find new avenues of expression. It does feel like we're pretty limited where you can only choose a hat or headphones. Like there's only one slot for the hat slot. And we're also seeing Avatar Studio creators being really creative with hijacking slots to to kind of fake this kind of stacking. We want to make that easier. We'd love to add more slots. It makes it a lot of sense when it's like, hey, when it comes to the head slot, you just have 2 of them, and you can use whatever hat or head items you want to stack on top. That's a no-brainer. We're also thinking about new outfit slots. Like, what are the type of things we're seeing our Avatar Studio creators? Like, they're putting stuff in the eyeglasses slot that is not eyeglasses, and very strange. Or we've done stuff where the face slot is using, or the eye slot is for face masks and other things. So we're realizing there's a larger category of things that you all want, and adding new slots is not that hard. It's just more when we add a new slot, having nothing in it is part of our cold start problem. So I think as we're adding more Avatar Studio creators, we're getting feedback about what they want to see and what they would build for. Because I think if we create a new slot, we'd want our UGC creators to be the first people adding stuff to that space. So it's good to hear that's something you guys want, and because it definitely expands the number of things people can make, some things we can buy. It helps with our monetization story. So just saying, great to hear that. That resonates with stuff we're talking about of what to do next to improve Avatar Studio creation and our monetization story.
Awesome. Thank you, Max. And maybe a little follow-up question to scalable circuits. And not sure if this is in your field or not, but I do recall one of the reasons why we haven't done anything like that is because of collisions with avatars. Like when they got scaled up, we couldn't be sure of the bodies or collision. Do you think that will still be the case with the modern bean?
You're saying if we allow scale up to, say, a big giant size or a mini size. I think that does... Yeah. When we have prototyped this, it definitely opens up questions with what does it mean when you grab an object? Does that object also scale up with you? Like when you grab a paintball pistol, if you're big, should it scale up to match your grip size? Does that mean things you grab now can get big and break game state? So there's a lot of concerns about. I think we're going to have to be careful about what rooms allow for scale and what don't. We could see a version where if people can scale themselves up and down willy-nilly, that paintball would become a mess. And so do we say in paintball, scale isn't allowed. It's a hard problem because if scale is a part of your identity, if you're like, no, actually I scale myself a little bit down because I like being smaller and I don't like that I have to size up to a default scale. So it's a hard design problem. It's like, how do we message to players that some rooms you can scale up in, some you can't? Maybe it's you can scale up in a room using a costume, so it's a room-only effect, and that's a way to avoid this. But we've also played around with it being a custom setting across the entire app. So anyways, just saying, like, there's a lot of things to consider. Collisions, how you grab, all that stuff is a lot of our design thinking and why we haven't quite tackled it. But it's good that you guys want it. It'll mean we'll revisit it.
Yeah, that's a really good answer, Max. Thank you so much for that. We had a kind of rooms 2 kind of prop question about converting, or even adding props, things like the punching bag, the vending machine, and other props that may not exist yet in rooms 2 that never exist in rooms 1. But hey, maybe we can get them now that Rec Room assets are allowed to be used by others. Does anyone have an answer for that? I guess, sorry, let me summarize. New props for the Maker Pen palette in rooms 2, Rec Room assets that don't exist anywhere else.
I know we were going down a list for converting R2 props based on like usage we saw across rooms. So anything that wasn't already. Oh, go ahead.
None of those will show up because they didn't exist before.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but if they didn't exist.
This is the kind of thing that we could do. We just need to make it a priority. So if this is really important to you, like, I would encourage you to post about it on the creator forum so we can, keep tabs on the kind of stuff people want.
Yeah, we haven't done a renewed kind of like what's at the top of people's R2 props wish list since we shipped probably like hundreds of R2 props or that big list of them. So if people want to shout out in the chat, what are your top 1 or 2 R2 props that you would like to see us focus on? Just be an interesting informal poll.
Last time the answer was so overwhelmingly vehicles and costumes that is what we've been focusing on. But those are shipping soon.
Yeah, vehicles and costumes are coming next week or two, so you can ignore those. The 3D charades assets.
Oh,
The
like the
water
card
fountain.
box.
When you guys
Yeah.
say the 3D charades assets, which ones are you talking about? Just like everything in that room, or are there
We had the
particular
card box available in the rec center for a while.
Okay.
Oh, they want all the bars set up and everything. And beanbag chairs.
Card box is not in R2. Okay. Beanbags, jukebox, bar chairs, jukebox. Jukebox from bowling. Custom cards. Okay. It would be helpful if somebody could create a kind of new kind of like R2 props requests, and then you guys can dump all of these specific props in there. If somebody wants to go make that, or if you can find one that exists in the forums already. Probably a new one would be better though, just because I think we have shipped so many R2 props since the last one. So if anybody wants to go make that and then post it in this chat or in the general chat afterwards, that would be a good place to start gathering all of these. Seems like the beanbags and jukebox and some of these are pretty popular. I did see somebody posting something about this status thing that we talked about earlier. We kind of asked the question because the question we got from the creator forums earlier was about people wanting to kind of have a status saying like, I'm playing paintball, or I need actors to like film this thing. And our question was like, what creator focused reasons do you want kind of like a friends or like player status for? Like how would it be helpful to see player status for like your co-owners, or if you're building a room, how are you going to use status? So I'm curious, less from like a typical player who's like looking to find paintball people to play with, and more from like a creator's perspective. How do you guys think about using that status feature? That was kind of our question when we got to that one earlier.
Sean, were we planning on covering any Maker AI topics during this AMA?
With Gribbly gone, I think it would be difficult for us to answer some of them at this point. Maybe Nick could take
Answer
some of them.
I think if it's like on the really nitty gritty stuff for circuit gen, I might have a little trouble there, but
Yeah.
Were there specific questions?
It was more of a generalized, like, what's new with Maker AI? What's coming up? Like, they wanted to know. I directed them to the news questions or to news announcements, but yeah, do you have
Gotcha.
anything that you can share?
There are a lot of things that we're working on there. I think we're evaluating a lot of different models to see like what is possible. So I can tell you ones that we are looking at. I wouldn't take these as promises that these things are definitely going to come, but these are things that we're looking at. Is can we use Maker AI to help you initialize a terrain in some sort of biome? We are looking at, could we use Maker AI to generate a 3D asset if we cannot find one in the marketplace or in the palette? We are looking at ways of making circuit gen a lot more reliable. We have found some paths where I think one of the things that we've seen with the circuit gen stuff that comes along is like if you start stacking a lot of requests, a lot of times they don't work together well. Like each individual component of circuits might work okay, but like they're not stacking super well. And I think there's some good changes coming on that direction. I believe today we launched some changes to the way that the image gen stuff works. It should do a better job of tiling now, so that if you're like, hey, make me a an image and put it on the wall, it should do a better job of like making sure that you don't see the seams in the tiles. I think one of the things that we have been working on, which I'm optimistic we can get out in the next couple of weeks, is applying those any custom made texture to any maker pen shape, so that if you had like a lamp that you had made, you're like, hey, make me a custom texture and like put it on the lampshade, and we'll try and wrap it to that shape. Those are things that I would say we are doing some level of evaluation on, where we're like, is this possible? Is it feasible from a cost perspective as well? Some of the things we can do, but the cost per making an individual entity is just like too high for us to go and do. But terrain is looking pretty interesting. And I think we'll get to something on 3D assets, but I think it'll be a little bit.
Awesome. Thank you so much for those little bit of insights of what the future holds. Let's see. Someone else had another question in the chat. Where was it? I got lost in here. Okay. Mithy is asking to enhance the post. We could implement a feature similar to VR chat where users can indicate their current activity status. For example, we could use a color coding system. Blue could mean join me whenever. Orange could mean signify. So this looks like a feature that's asking for a profile status update where people can customize exactly what they're doing, not just offline or online.
Yeah, I think, again, my question on the status thing is like, what is the problem that you guys are trying to solve with this? Are you building and you're having people join you that you don't want to join you? Are you building solo and you're hoping more people will join you and they don't, and you want to invite them to join you kind of passively? Like, we just need a little bit more information here on like how the status is hoping to be used. Like, I understand what the system would be, but I think like describing the needs for the system would be more interesting to us, so we can kind of understand what the, you know, the motivation is for something like that. I'm seeing some people asking about like new UIs for creators. Rose, when you're asking for new UIs, are you saying like more kind of ability for you to create your own UI and like hide more of the Rec Room UI? What exactly are people interested in when they're talking about new UIs? Several people are typing. I'm curious, Trunks, have you seen people request kind of like more UI tools recently?
I kept on seeing that question come up in the chat, and I was a bit confused by it because Rec Room Studio allows players to create their own custom UIs. So I'm not sure if they were referring to a better UI in the Maker Pen palette itself or what. I'm not sure, but Rec Room Studio generally is pretty functional when you want to create your own custom UI and menu and everything. It looks and functions pretty well.
Okay. I see Disco Man put a question in here that's getting a lot of emoji. Will vehicles in R2 be different from R1 vehicles? As far as I know, it's basically a direct port. Like, they function the same, they look the same. I think it's basically the exact same. I think there's some weird edge cases where you can't, I forget exactly what it is. You can't make the vehicle like a child of another object in the hierarchy, or things can get a little wonky. So there's some, things that will go insane if you kind of use the vehicles in a certain way in R2, but it's basically the same R1 vehicles as far as I'm aware. Okay, so follow up on the status thing. It's primarily to prevent people from being spammed and to help ensure they don't feel alone. It allows individuals to express their need for community. Okay. Okay, so it seems like the status thing people are bringing up is just a way to encourage more people to like hang out with each other or go into rooms or build with other people. It's just kind of like a passive way to indicate you want people to join you. It seems like there's some interest in that based on the emojis. I would say it would be an improvement if someone could make a creator forum post on this and highlight it in that way, kind of talk about, why you would want to use this as a creator to get more people in a room building with you, or whatever the use case is. All we have so far in the questions is kind of like, hey, we want a status system, but not more on the why. So if somebody wants to make that creator forums post and put it in here, DM it to me later, that would be helpful, so people can kind of collect their comments and upvotes in there.
Hey, we did get one question from Max with full body avatar and upgraded bean. Getting more customizable options, is it possible to have a different idle animations or even walk styles for our avatars? They, with their full body avatar, they wear a lot of skirts and dresses, and just like how my avatar just stands still and the legs are spread apart with the feet facing outward, doesn't feel very feminine. So they would love some options. So Max, can we get some options?
Yeah, it's definitely something we've talked about. We call it personas. So a way to have a different way to walk, to idle. I think idles would be the first thing we go after, especially because we want you to feel charming in your outfits. If we're working towards ways to make spending money in Rec Room more delightful, part of it is we want you to look good when you're standing there, when you're taking a photo of yourself. So I think this really does help our monetization story, our avatar story. We want you to feel like you're collecting a larger wardrobe of fun stuff. And so it's definitely something that we are thinking about on our roadmap. Also, how you move, how you emote. There's a lot of different things we can do to make animation great. There's a lot of great ideas, and picking the right one and going after something so we can get you guys impact, get you guys something in your hand as fast as possible is what we're trying to prioritize.
Nice. And someone wants some shoes on the modern bean body so they can be like Rayman.
They want Rayman? They want the Rayman style? Yeah. Yeah. It is very doable to do, since it is using a lot of similar systems. That's not high up on our roadmap.
I think I saw this requested somewhere else. In the chat, someone's asking for a full body avatar to disable Eye Glint.
Yeah, it's also another thing we want to do. We actually have the change coded up. It was just one of those things that got complicated with the classic bean in the way. I know a lot of people care about the classic bean, and they're like, why not keep it around? It is hard to maintain. It is an old system. It is, whenever we try to make a change on one, there's stuff that's intertangled. There's some stuff that's completely separate, and it's easy to make a change to the classic bean and the upgraded bean and the full body. But the face systems were so intertwined that we just punted on it, and we wanted to wait for this moment where once the classic bean is fully retired, it gets so much easier to do this kind of stuff.
Awesome. Everything's so exciting. Tontan is asking, when can they make high heel or platform shoes for full body avatars?
I thought it was going to be this week. Let me check with the team. But yeah, we're going to get high heels out there. That high heels do change the way you walk a little bit. If you're very high up, if you push it to the highest, we change the way the gait happens, so it's a little bit more feminine. That was our first stab at personas. So it should be that. If it's not this week, if it didn't roll out, it's going to be next week. Let me go check on that.
Awesome news.
I saw a question in there about are we thinking about bringing back the tutorial video program? That is something that I saw us discussing internally in like the last week. I think there's interest in bringing it back. We're kind of thinking about how we could do that in a scalable way. The creator contest we're putting on right now is kind of taken some time away from this sort of program evaluation stuff that we want to do, but there is ongoing discussions about the tutorial video program, because I know it definitely highly motivates some people that want to be making tutorial videos, and there's a lot of great tutorial videos out there that did come out of the program, so we're thinking about it. I also saw one about, is there ever going to be any way to dynamically create studio UI, for example, a player list or a music playlist using circuits to instantiate UI elements? I don't have any idea of like where this sort of dynamic studio UI or custom UI stuff is at. I don't know if we have anyone on stage who could answer this either. So that might be one to make a creator forums post about. Okay, we're already about 10 minutes over, so I think we can start wrapping it up. Did anybody see any other last second questions we want to address before we head out?
I think we got most of them. There's been some questions by, why can't we have roles in R2? But I think that's been mostly answered in the chat. But yeah, I think any last questions? I didn't see any.
I think people are very interested in how Nick stays so young. The foundation you're using.
You're muted, Nick. Give us your skincare routine.
Just a camera filter. It's just a camera filter.
You're about to say bar of soap. I was gonna be very concerned.
All right, we'll do a Nick beauty
hair.
tip segment every AMA now. All right.
I like it.
Did anybody have any last minute stuff we wanted to announce or draw people's attentions to before we kill the stage? I think we got all of our announcements out earlier. Office tour. I think we've posted a few office tours in the past. People can look them up. I think Harry Manlegs
V-Bunny was just here.
Yeah. Yeah, we had somebody visit. We had a video partner visit, and I think they were probably doing a little photos or videos when they were there. So that might be the most up-to-date one. So yeah, watch on V-Bunny's channel. You guys might see something there with the Rec Room office. All right. Thanks for everyone for showing up. Thanks for everyone who submitted questions. Thanks to Nick and Max and everyone for showing up and answering some of the harder questions. And we will see you guys next time. Have a good weekend, everybody.
Take care, everyone. Happy weekend.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye. Corbenz, no. Corbenz, no.
Well.
Corbenz. Corbenz. All right, bye.
They saved the best for last. You can't shush me, Eden. Guys, I need you to look at this picture I found. Tell me if this picture's cool or not. Just look at that. Is it hot? It's hot? Yeah, it's hot. It's hot. Photoshop Nick. I can't Photoshop Nick on it. But yeah. I will see you guys later. It's lit. Yeah, fire me. No, I'm on fire. You know what? Let's. You're getting banned, bozo. And I'm out of here. I'll see you guys later. Bye.
Okay.